Actually, just thinking this is obviously funny what you think about when you're having a shit. All the new series is.
Yeah. Alright, starting recording. Right, we're recording now. So we can just do the intro at any point.
It does look like he spontaneously combusted and his clothes are just sitting on the...
just sort of gone down in a little heap of...
Oh no, he's faded into the faded. He's become a fourth ghost.
He's disappeared down the sofa. It's when the music kicked in as well with that, and he takes him away. I thought, that's really sad.
There was a little moment for a little while. I mean, I saw the X-wing and I was like, it's Luke, but it was like until you saw the green lightsaber.
Yeah.
I wasn't entirely sure, and even when you saw the security footage, it was like,
well, you couldn't see the colour, so you thought, it could be a
eventually it cuts to him, and then you're like, oh fuck! Oh my god!
It was just like, just everything about it was just perfect. It was like that was proper full on Return of the Jedi Luke.
Well, it was Favreau's apology for Luke, isn't it? It's do you know what, Luke? You had a Mark. You had a real horror deal in the Disney trilogy, so let's do a one-off for you.
Yeah, we'll give you a consolation.
And that was not Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. That's Grandmaster Jedi Skywalker. That's like that's the expanded EU legends.
Legends. The Shadows of the Empire, Luke.
It was like the same Luke compared to like the first two Star Wars movies. It was like that when he's coming into Jabba's palace. That was like, that's what I mean.
I like. No one really ever talks about it, but Luke Skywalker choked and killed like those two guards as he walked into Jabba's palace.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning, and no one really talks about that. It's like he just
but they deserved it. That's the difference with Joey. If they deserve it, it's not dark side.
Tatooine criminals, isn't it? Those sand people deserved it. Sorry, I'm being racist. Tusken Raiders.
That's right. Yeah, Raiders of the Sand.
But Mandalorian was amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, season 2 is just even better than 1. I don't even know how they managed to do it. How did they do it? It's just Favreau. Oh.
Well, yeah. What they did was with Mandalorian season 1, they thought, right, we'll just be very basic and we'll do what we do, but we're going to have some fun.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see if people like it.
If they like it, then we'll go to fucking town for season 2 and actually really ramp it up.
Yeah, and they did
set up like 4 different series.
Oh yeah, well their sort of Avengers Defenders sort of universe, which I'm thinking is going to work quite nicely.
It's not going to be in it anymore though, so that's kind of what are they going to do next other than him being King of Mandalore?
Well, I mean, they did say, he'll see Grogu again, so there's obviously something's got to happen where he ends up turning up again, fully trained, or maybe not fully trained. Who knows? Maybe hopefully he's the one that gets away before Kylo Ren kills everyone. And it's like, because I really don't want it to end like that. The thought, that's what I was saying to you, Jack, both of you, like, the thought was like amazing at the time, but now it's like, hang on a minute, does that mean that he gets murdered eventually, and that's why
the galaxy is a big place, Sean?
I know. And then you think, well, then surely he would have been in the sequel trilogy because he would have been this really powerful Yoda creature. Then you just think, no, it's going to be retconned. No, it's going to be retconned.
No, he just wasn't there.
Yeah.
He's in a different part of the galaxy. They went into hiding. Luke went to that random temple planet with Yoda's Force Ghost.
Yeah.
And Grogu just wasn't there.
Yeah. He's somewhere else.
Or here's the mad one. He's one of the Knights of Ren.
Nah.
In a meat suit.
One of the Knights of Red who ends up getting killed by Kylo Ren. Yeah.
That's right. He's in a meat suit.
Didn't think that through. I forget. See, there's so many details about the Disney trilogy movie that I just don't.
I still haven't even bothered with Rise of Skywalker yet. And after watching The Mandalorian, I still am not. I'm really not going to because I don't
bother. Really don't bother. Just accept that this is now the new trilogy. This is the new.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
And also
This
now
is
we
Star
can do
Wars we've actually wanted.
marathons now. So we can do like the prequel trilogy, we can do the original trilogy, and then we can just go and watch Mandalorian season 1 and 2 and don't have to worry about the rest of it.
Not have to worry about the future stuff. Well, that's like I was saying to you earlier. The prequels were too far in the past for it to matter, and the sequel trilogy was too far in the future for it to matter with the original Star Wars. Like, the original Star Wars is what everyone loves and has feelings for.
Yeah.
And if you detach too far away from it either way, you start to lose some of the magic.
Yeah.
Which is why Mandalorian works so well. Which is why Rogue One, although it's flawed, it's one of the better of the movies that came forward, because it's the closest in association with style, the look, what you get in.
Yeah.
Feels like Star Wars.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, so does the Solo film.
I mean, this is it. I mean, it's like, even if you look at like the old Legends books, it's kind of like, with a few exceptions about like the prequel stuff and like the old Republic and everything, almost every book is related to Han, Luke, and Leia. Even as they get older, it's like Luke Skywalker's like it's just about hit 60 in the books, in the old books and everything, the old Legends universe. He's only just hit 60, and they've been knocking out those books like for years. It's like, yeah.
Well, I suppose, if you count, if you assume that in the original trilogy he's in his early 20s.
He's 19.
He's what?
He's 19 in the original.
He's 19. Right, yeah. So there we go. Yeah, like 19.
Yeah.
And so then by the time Lost Jedi comes along, he's what? That's like 20 years after. So he's like he's 40s, 50s.
Well, this is it. It's kind of like he's supposed to be older than that. I think it's like 30 years after, but I have no sense.
Well, yeah, because Mark Hamill is older than that, isn't he? Yeah.
So the finale of season 2. Oh
yeah. I was just saying to her before we started recording, is that I kind of I was slightly spoiled because there was a thing on Twitter, fucking Twitter, about it was like a silhouette of him and the green lightsaber, and I just clicked it off because it wasn't like, it didn't actually properly reveal. It just said Jedi, blah blah blah, like finale, and I was like, okay. But actually, just watching it and seeing how the context of how he got there and what he did and everything else after that still made it fucking awesome for me. And it was just like, I'm happy. This is like, bravo. This is like just exactly what we all wanted after the last few years of fucking bedlam. That was the sequel trilogy.
Mandalorian should have just condensed Mandalorian Series 1 into being Episode 7, and then Mandalorian Season 2 into being Episode 8.
That's how I watched them both. I watched, because they actually flow really nicely. Like, if you just marathon them, because some episodes are shorter than others. So it kind of, and they generally lead into each other quite nicely.
Yeah.
Especially in the middle of the seasons. So I felt like, even though it was like a 5 hour stint, didn't feel like that at all. It was like, it's just a slightly longer Star Wars film, but it did flow really, really well. And it was like, I actually put a tweet up. I was just like, Mandalorian season 2 is the best Star Wars movie since Empire. And no one has liked it or said anything. So they either really all disagree with me, or they can't be bothered to argue with me because I'm right.
That's it. I think the only stuff I could say about Mandalorian series 1 and 2 that's bad. It's just nitpicky shit, and I'm not going to bother doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but I mean, compared to what we got,
yeah,
with
the films, Talmud's a bit too fresh and a bit too clean, considering it was all tatty and messed up from movies. Yeah. So I'm not going to complain about that. That's not worth it, So,
no.
You know what? I can, because I just brought it up. Was it clean? Who cleaned it up and fixed it?
Yeah.
Suppressed.
Oh yes. But then we got Slave 1 back, so it's like, swings and roundabouts.
Got the seismic bombs from the prequels. That was weird.
Whoop.
Oh, yeah. Whoop.
You mean the dubstep bomb?
Yeah. I still don't get how they work, because it's kind of like, okay, it does a shockwave. That's like a horizontal thing.
in the atmosphere, yes.
Yeah.
The way it's used in the Mandalorian, yes, would work.
Yeah.
But wouldn't work in space because there's no fucking. You can't make sound in space.
No, exactly.
That was purely okay, that's a nitpick because obviously you wouldn't be able to hear lasers. There's a lot of things in Star Wars that just wouldn't be right, and most science fiction as well.
Yeah.
But
that's not even go there with Doctor Who. but we're going to try and make this a Doctor Who free video, although it's probably end up going to be about that anyway. But
we'll turn into that within the next 20 minutes. I can guarantee it.
Oh, yeah. I always manage to bring it about. Don't worry about that.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Bring it back to who? Hey, I'll get me coke.
I was saying this to someone else the other day that the season 2 looks like it's setting up 4 different Star Wars series, and then we get the announcement of all the new series that Disney Plus are doing. And you're like, oh my god, overload.
Yeah. I mean, at first it is a bit overload, but if it depends on how quickly and how.
I'm telling you, provided Jon Favreau's got a hand in all of them, it's going to be good. We can be fairly certain it'll be all right if Jon Favreau's involved. I can guarantee you the ones in which Jon Favreau isn't involved will probably be shit.
So my understanding is he's in control of all of them, like proper in control of all of them, except for I think the Acolyte. That's Kathleen Kennedy's Leslie Helland woman who's doing that one. I think.
I think there's some that there's literally no information about whatsoever. It's just here it is. Yeah. But there's like nothing. There's not even a synopsis about some of them.
No.
So maybe they've been added. What we do know is that the Ahsoka series is going to be her going after Thrawn because it mentions it in the Rangers of the Republic.
That's going to be the Cara Dune show.
But that's also going to be the Asian guy and the other dude in the X-wings that saved Mando from the ice cave.
Yeah. It'll basically be mainly those three will be like the main.
Do you know what? I actually quite like that as an idea because I mean, who doesn't want more X-wings?
Exactly.
I mean, I really murked hard when I saw that X-wing, the 2 X-wings turn up in the Prison Break Mandalorian episode, and they blew up the space station, and I was like, X-wings! Oh,
X-wings look actually like X-wings.
This is why I'm looking forward to the Rogue Squadron movie because Patty Jenkins is a pretty good director. She did the first Wonder Woman. She did both the Wonder Woman movies, and they're pretty awesome. Oh, the first one is definitely. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I'm assuming
only the second one's supposed to be a load of shit. But we don't know yet because we haven't seen it. But just
reserve judgment, Sean. Stop being such a
word. The word is exactly. Like I said before, like we were talking about before. It's like there might be some general consensus. Oh, this is going to be shit, and it'll be actually you might enjoy it personally. So
But wasn't it interesting with that picture of all those new series is that they never mentioned the Boba Fett. The Book of Boba Fett series.
Yeah, well, probably maybe that was because it would have been a mini spoiler for the actual Mandalorians because of the fact that he would still.
It actually shows it in there.
That he's in it. Yeah, maybe they wanted to be like, oh, maybe does he survive? Doesn't he survive? Sort of thing.
Boba Fett, he's fallen in a Sarlacc pit and got out. He's pretty unkillable at this point.
Yeah, I love the fact they got the original actor to play him as well from the pre. What was it? What's his name? I know he's. Oh, Jack. Do you know? It doesn't really matter. But anyway, you know who we're talking about.
Tamari Johnson. Tamari.
Yeah. But I thought it was funny the way when she goes, "Hang on a minute, you're not a Mandalorian. You're a clone. I know that voice." It's like, but I thought that's when it's like, oh, but hang on, I thought he was a Mandalorian. Oh, maybe he's not a pure Mandalorian. Oh, what the fuck?
Oh, did you not see in the episode he talks about that his father was a foundling?
Oh, foundling, that's it.
Fett was a foundling, so not really a Mandalorian, but a Mandalorian by the Creed.
By Creed, yeah.
They kind of have them as 2 separate things. That's why I understand.
That's where my knowledge of that sort of stuff fails me. That's clearly.
Well, no, it only explains it in the TV series, so.
Right.
Yeah, you've got George Lucas's version, then you had the Legends version, then you had the Clone Wars version, and now you have the Mandalorian version of Mandalorian.
Right, okay.
versions of Mandalorian culture. So it's kind of
confusing.
Confusing. Yes, it's more than a little confusing.
Inconsistent.
Although I think we can all agree that Canderous Ordo is the only Mandalorian that matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, it's it's kind of, to be fair, you could probably make something work if you got rid of the Clone Wars version of Mandalorians, because they're the ones that's like, oh yeah, they're all peaceful diplomats who live on a desert world with great big cube cities and shit, and it's like, what? It doesn't really fit anything else. So it's like, fine. But yeah, everything else you can kind of make work, but I'm not doing that. I probably will.
Doesn't Obi-Wan shag one of the Mandalorians?
He was going out with a woman who was basically the Queen of Mandalore. I can't remember if it's like elected queen or actual queen, but basically I don't think they probably did shag because he's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So we're going to see some of that action in the Obi-Wan series then? Or was that before?
Have we got any information of when the Kenobi series is set?
10 years after Return of the Jedi. So it's basically Vader is full on killing Jedi mode at that point. Full on just like evil cunt. So, which is great.
So why is there this massive fuss about Hayden Christensen being back? He's just going to be in the fucking outfit.
Yeah.
Because
you're not going to see his face.
You can have him back in flashbacks.
Well, what they'll do is,
also,
it'll be like that.
Where did all this like admiration for Hayden Christensen and wanting him back come from? Because he was shit in the original trilogy, like the prequel trilogy. He was the worst part of it.
He was, but I think since then he's actually like there's been stuff that he's been in, and he's like, oh, actually he's a decent actor, and the dialogue that he got was actually pretty fucking poor. Sand gets everywhere, all that kind of stuff. And I think he was very young at the time, and I think given another crack at the whip, he might be all right. And especially now that he's just going to be like an evil bastard.
So you say one day that we might respect Jodie Whittaker after she finishes as a Doctor and
no.
Explain yourself.
I said no.
What is the meaning of this negative?
It means no.
The difference there is Jodie's done stuff before, so we can see that she wasn't really that good an actress before she started being the Doctor. Whereas Hayden Christensen hadn't done anything before this and has done stuff since, which kind of makes him look better. So it's like, oh, maybe it was just the prequel trilogy films had a shitty script.
Okay. So, oh well, that's good. So,
Yeah, and you can just use James Earl Jones's voice. You know what I mean? You can't really use another voice to put over Jodie's. Unfortunately, it's a bit like...
Oh, I see. Yeah, true.
I'd watch an episode of Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker.
No, you can have Peter Fenowitz. He does a wicked Darth Vader impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Who are they going to get to play? Are they going to get actually him to be the voice as well? I don't know how it's going to work.
Oh.
Well, you would assume maybe he has Hayden Christensen's voice when the mask isn't on.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is my other point. It's like everyone's really happy he's coming back. If he's going to be Darth Vader, he's going to be in it's just going to be in the black suit. You're not ever going to see it's Hayden Christensen unless they're going to have scenes where the mask is coming off.
I reckon there'll be a lot of it. It'll be like that book you let me chat, the Death Star book, where he's actually, you see, he's either in his the back. Is it the back to tank?
Yeah, he's in back to tanks every now and again to try and heal him.
And then also like when he's just sitting there, just like, and he's like talking to himself, and like his thoughts are sort of like, it's going to be quite a sort of schizophrenic portrayal, I think, which I think will be quite unique in Star Wars. So yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. I was thinking that's not only unique to just general literature. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No. But I mean, for the Star Wars universe, it's going to have a kind of, I don't know, maybe some sort of fucking like Joker thing going on, which I think could be interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those now. It's become a bit of a trope since Lord of the Rings with Gollum.
Yeah,
tropes are only...
Okay. Do you want me to go through the list? Gollum, Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Venom.
Yeah, but they're good. they're good characters.
Split personality trope.
Yeah, but it's only bad if they're done badly. If you do a trope right, it can get away with it. You know, and there's the thing is, you pointed out like what 5 characters just there that all do the same trope, and you know what? Because they did it all well, you're not that bothered by it, are you?
No, I am bothered a little bit with Dr. Octopus because you had the Green Goblin in the first film, and then you had exactly the same sort of storyline arc. I mean, it was done in a slightly different way, and it was the chippies that made him go schizophrenic.
Doc Ock did it better, in my opinion.
Well, this is the thing. Neither one of them should have had that personality trait or that trope.
Well, yeah, that's true.
That's beside the point. It's kind of Sam Raimi just doesn't really know how to write stuff anymore. He peaked at Evil Dead 2, hasn't done anything good since.
Yeah, because I didn't like the Raimi trilogy.
Harsh man, Jack.
I am a harsh man, but quite frankly,
did he not write the TV show though? You know, the recent one, the Evil Dead show.
I have no idea. Probably.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure because that was supposed to. I haven't seen it, but apparently that was supposed to be quite well received. The Evil Dead. Isn't it Ash versus Evil Dead? I think it is.
Oh, I have heard that's quite good.
But I don't know if he's written it or whether he's just like obviously producing it or something.
What do we know about these new series?
Right.
All I know is that the Ahsoka and the New Republic Rangers is going to be directed and made by Jon Favreau. Well, so that's at least 2 of those series that I know is in safe hands.
Yeah.
The Ahsoka one.
The Acolytes we don't know very much about, other than it's Kathleen Kennedy's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the only thing we know so far. And even then, that might be up in the air, considering how Disney's been with Kathleen Kennedy recently. The Ahsoka...
Kathleen Kennedy. Fuck you.
Yeah. The Ahsoka one, we have a bit of an idea of what it's going to involve, and it's going to involve the Veil of
Ahsoka. That's really weird to
know. Space whales and Thrawn. Oh,
Space whales and Thrawn, and more Rosario Dawson on our screen. Even looking like Ahsoka Tano, I still would.
Yeah. Quite frankly, she has to wear the Ahsoka Tano stuff for it to be for a sale for me now. It has to be. But that's just
well, she can't look like her normal self. Then it wouldn't be Ahsoka Tano, would it? But still, you can. It's just like, yeah, definitely.
I have to dress so
coming
pretend she's Rosario Dawson afterwards. But
that she's herself afterwards, even while wearing the costume.
But no, it's Her-Thon's going to be about the Veil of the Force, which is a time travel, like multi-dimensional concept they brought up in the Rebels TV show a couple of times. The reason I know that is because the symbol that they use for the O in her name in the show, or sorry, the title of her show, same as what the Veil of the Force portals look like.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. It's that. What they're going to do, we don't know. But if you believe the rumors that Doomcock revealed, is that it's basically going to retcon the sequel trilogy out of existence.
But he's normally pretty.
See, normally, I'm against getting rid of already established things, but in the case of the sequel trilogy,
Sequel, yeah, that's the thing. The two things that I'll be completely happy with: the sequel trilogy and the last 2 years of Doctor Who.
Yeah, last 2 years of Doctor Who haven't happened.
Or maybe, going on 3 now. Well, a lot hasn't really happened in the last 3 years. But what has happened, it deserves to be eviscerated from history.
The Rogue Squadron movie, I'm assuming it's a movie because Patty Jenkins only really does movies.
It's going to be a film, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, that's basically...
Is that going to be between Empire and Return? Or...
You don't know. It's literally just going to be 12, possibly 13 X-Wing pilots blowing the crap out of stuff, so that's going to be good. But the whole...
Basically Maverick in space.
Yeah.
The whole stigma of Rogue Squadron is they take on the missions that are like suicide missions and come out the other side pretty much gleaming.
Unscathed.
Bad Batch is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. That's going to be. I'm going to try and make that will be the thumbnail of this video, I think.
Playing with an X-wing, yeah. Yeah, Bad Batch
I
is.
should really get my Razor Crest down, shouldn't I? Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, I need to go for a piss in a minute, so then I
I
can
need to
pause
go for a shit.
it, do that, and then come back and we can do part 2. Yeah.
So,
Actually, yeah, I can live with this as a halfway point.
so what's Mando going to do for a ship now? He doesn't have one. He's had his ship blown up.
Technically, he's got the cruiser now.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, he's got an entire fucking Imperial cruiser at his mercy.
And the planet Mandalore when he gets there.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a whole planet, but if it's been glassed, there's not really anything there to do, is
Do
there?
you know what? I was actually just thinking this. It's obviously funny what you think about when you're having a shit. The Series 2 ends so well that it doesn't even need a Series 3.
No, it doesn't.
That makes sense. Like, even if they didn't make another series of Mandalorian, I'd be happy with the way that it ended.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I was saying, like, technically, okay, he's still got the dark saber, blah blah, but technically, his mission was complete. He got Grogu to a Jedi, and that's basically what his mission was. That was his quest for season 2, and he completed it.
Yeah, his story's finished. You don't need to do anything more with it. Like the dark saber can be just like a nice little thing to make you think like, oh, this is what he's going to do with his future then, and that's it.
I mean, there was I can't remember. I think it might have been Doomcock or someone was saying that he could be actually there's like a rumor that he could be force sensitive himself, and that's why he's so good a fighter, because he's got kind of force sensitive abilities. But I don't really want that to be the case.
Left it that he wasn't as much.
Yeah,
it's more fantasy than. It doesn't need to be force sensitive. Not everyone needs to be like a Jedi in Star Wars. It's like you can have interesting stuff without that, Yeah. But if they do, they do. As long as they do something cool with it, it's fine. But if they just do like the basic, oh, here he is.
It's Elmo. Elmo the kitty cat.
There you go. Hello. You're gonna come sit on me.
Yeah,
he's going to get us a few more subscribers.
Come the real star of the show.
Yeah, there he is. Maybe I'll make that the thumbnail instead.
I feel like Mandalorian in season 1 when Grogu turns up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's weird. Grogu does sound like a pretty Yoda-ish style name. It's kind of It's like
I love the bit. It's just like Grogu. Hmm?
Yeah,
Grogu.
Well, it's one of those ones. I wasn't even that bothered. Like when we found his name, it's like, oh, his name's Grogu. Oh, okay.
He'll forever be known as Baby Yoda. To be fair.
Oh, baby.
He is still the cutest thing to happen.
Yeah.
Well, he says, well,
the cutest thing I didn't know we needed. I didn't know that we needed a Baby Yoda. But now we've got him.
Yeah.
I now feel like a Bond villain.
It's like a Battlestar Galactica thing. It's like everything that ever happened will happen again. So it's like we have another Yoda. And then it starts all over again.
With Cal Kestis. Yay!
Yeah.
I was still a little bit saddened that my prediction for Cal Kestis didn't come out. Although I'm equally happy that my other prediction that it was going to be a Jon Favreau apology for Mark's involvement in the new Disney films.
Yeah.
I feel vindicated.
Also, another sort of spoiler that I thought, okay, this could be. I was just going through Instagram, and then Mark Hamill's thing came up, and there was a picture of him just going, and I'm like, oh, okay, fine, all right, this is But like I said, it was still fucking awesome to see it. I was still like, that's so cool.
Well, it's just nice to have the tie-in to the original.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there it is. Here he is from the originals, the main hero.
Exactly.
Just having him back, because it's kind of like having him be Grand Master Skywalker would be so much more interesting than having him be slobby Uncle Jake living on
Yeah.
But fuck nowhere, yeah.
Have you seen there's some horrible memes that are out though about there's a picture of Baby Yoda or Grogu, then there's a food blender, and then you've got Luke drinking the fucking milk, and it's like, oh no, that's horrible. But quite funny.
See, I'm now getting to that point where if they announced a Luke cartoon, I'd be quite happily watched.
That would literally be better than anything that they've already announced. It would just be like, oh yes.
Well, let's see. You get the Clone Wars animators on it because they're only going to be doing the Bad Batch now, and that's not really going to take all that much time to do. So
Mark Hamill has still got. He basically sounds he did 30 years ago. Slightly gruffer, but still, they can just sort that out in post.
Yeah, and then you can see, Grogu not dying.
Yeah.
And how it all went to shit and became the Disney. Oh, yeah, it's just difficult. I don't know how. I can't. I'm conflicted about getting rid of the Disney trilogy. I know it's bad.
Well, the thing is, I still like Force Awakens. I know that it's like Force Awakens.
I'm hoping
on its own is good.
What they could do with it is that you give enough backstory in series and stuff to just try and iron out some of the problems in the trilogy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
so this perceived random backstory that Poe Dameron suddenly has in Rise of Skywalker that was not mentioned in the other two movies, you might be able to sort of flesh it out a little bit. Poe Dameron before he was in there. Just add a bit more to the background of those movies.
But then instead we're getting
what the cartoons did for the Clone Wars for between the Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. The bits that kind of just make those flesh those bits out to make the movies just that little bit more bearable.
Yeah, but the difference is you could argue that Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith work as movies on their own, debatably.
Well, Revenge of the Sith.
I can't say I've watched Attack of the Clones very often.
No.
I don't actually go back to that film very often, ever.
Oh, no.
To be fair, I've gone back to it a few times, but then it's like, you guys...
You could never watch it in isolation, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it'd only be part of watching it as the trilogy. Like, whereas, for example, you could watch Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith in isolation because they do feel like there's a beginning, middle, and end to each of those movies, whereas Attack of the Clones probably feels like it's sandwiched in between.
Yeah, it definitely suffers from like middle child syndrome, film syndrome. But it's kind of like if you watch Attack of the Clones and then watch Revenge of the Sith, you don't need to watch the Clone Wars in between to be like, okay, I know what's going on. You don't. I think
it's just mainly to get a greater appreciation of Anakin Skywalker at that time, and to understand what some of the references that Obi-Wan was making in Revenge of the Sith about him. Like, I can't remember the exact line. It's like, it just reminds me of when we did this on blah blah blah. It's like, that gets filled in. Yeah,
but the problem is if they're having to create 3 or 4 TV series out of nowhere to basically fix problems that should have been in the movies in the first place, that's where it's kind of like, okay.
But I'd argue that they had to do that with the Clone Wars series to fix the problems in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
But
they did. That's what they had to do.
There's not that many problems with those films, though.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Well, it's more Attack of the Clones, really, than Revenge of the Sith. You could... for example,
my main issue with the prequels is that I don't understand how Anakin goes from being the kid in the first two films to the arsehole in the third film. Well, it just doesn't. It's such. Actually, no. This is my issue with it. Is that he's an arsehole all the time. There's no point in which Anakin's actually a nice guy or even a friend to Obi-Wan Kenobi. It doesn't show in those films, and that's the main issue with the prequels.
Yeah, I mean, they show it They start to show it slightly when in Attack of the Clones, where he kills all the what's it called? The ones that killed his mum. Yeah, Tusken Raiders. Yeah, and it's like, okay, he goes, I killed them all. All the men, the women, and the children.
But this is my point. He's an arsehole.
Yeah.
He's an evil dickhead. And there's no redeeming parts in any of those films, apart from when he's a kid, he's just irritating.
Yeah.
But there's I don't see them being friends. It's like the whole joke.
Yeah, I know
him talking about, he was a good friend. And
you don't see
really? Was he
At
really
no
a friend?
point.
Because he was just mostly a dickhead in those 2 movies.
And the whole thing of like,
I'll go with that because yeah, you're right. It's like the problem is he's supposed to be doing the A to Z path to villain. He starts off as a good person, but makes one bad decision, so he's on B. Then makes another little bad decision, and he's on C. And eventually, he's gone on through all these decisions to get to like the Z, where he's Darth Vader. Problem is, you only see him as decision A in Phantom Menace, decision like K in Attack of the Clones, and then he's done decision W at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
well, I mean, that's my biggest problem with the main reason why he turned to the dark side in the first place was because he wanted to make sure that he wanted to save Padme. And for me, that just was really jarring, considering you saw the seeds of him kind of being planted when he did kill the Tusken Raiders and stuff, and he wanted to be the most powerful Jedi. And I was like, okay, that's a good reason for him to like just crave the power. But then it was still just, oh no, we want to save your wife. Oh, okay, now I'm going to be an arsehole. Surely you could do that without being an arsehole. Do you know what I mean? It was just, it was quite convenient, I thought. It
was to force the decision. It's to give him that push to force the decision, because it's kind of like he could have gone one way or the other, and you had to force him to actually make a decision. If Palpatine hadn't forced him to make the decision one way or the other, it's kind of like Palpatine was in complete control of that situation. If Anakin hadn't jumped in to save him, he'd have killed Mace Windu anyway. He was in control enough that he could do that. Yeah. And in the case of, he had to force the situation where it's like, look, I want Anakin to be my apprentice. I can see this being a good thing. And then it's like, okay, I've got to force him to make a decision. Palpatine didn't give a shit about Padme. He never did at any point. And it's just kind of like, it's just another way I can manipulate and use this person. That's what he was doing.
I think there needed to be more screen time, or more time developed to like dedicated to Palpatine kind of grooming him to be part of the dark side, as opposed to just saying, oh, dark side is the only way you can save your wife. And all of a sudden, like after Mace Windu goes out of the window, it's like, yes, my master. And it just felt all very but there were some good moments in it, though.
I mean, this is me just spitballing here, but do you not reckon that if they did a couple of series just to iron out some of the issues in the Disney trilogy, that it would make the Disney trilogy just that slightly more palatable? Because I know the Clone Wars definitely makes Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith just a little bit more less cringy, because you do get a lot of other storyline, and you do get, like you say, the journey through the series, and you're kind of seeing snippets within the film.
Yeah, I think the biggest.
Maybe if we got like a series just kind of explaining that Rey got trained and she distanced herself from the Force to get away on the planet of Jakku, and then has access to it later because of the prior. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
a bit like how Grogu was trained in the Jedi Temple, but Grogu decided to detach himself from it to hide. It's kind of like a similar. You can see how you can try and fix some of these things without having to read a book, because I'm not reading a book.
I think that's the problem. I think the biggest problem, other than the treatment of Luke Skywalker, was Rey's fast track to being like the best ever. Do you know what I mean? And I think they needed to get that in earlier and be like, she actually needed to appear like she had these abilities before in the film she realized she had them, rather than just suddenly fighting Kylo Ren, a Sith Lord at that point. Okay, maybe not completely a Sith Lord, but do you know what I mean? He was portrayed as the next Darth Vader sort of thing. For her to then suddenly be able to just suddenly, best him several times.
Fix, isn't it?
They needed more development where that was concerned.
That's the simple fix. There was a fan thing going around, like a fan fix for the sequel trilogy, and it's just one simple change. Instead of her waiting for her family on Jakku, she's waiting for her master to come back. She's a Jedi who went into hiding because Kylo Ren was killing them all. Yeah,
exactly. So she was already established as a Jedi that Luke was training, and then it all went to shit. That would have been better. Or they teased, Finn was the Jedi instead, or as well as. So you've got the reason for him to be fighting with a lightsaber because he was trained as well, and then for some reason he disguised himself as a stormtrooper, maybe to infiltrate the First Order, blah blah blah. Something like that.
Stuff with it. Yeah, there's loads of stuff you could do, or even if it's just Finn discovers he can use the
Or
Force.
her master used a Jedi mind trick on her to think that she was waiting for her family when really she was actually waiting for her master. See, there are ways around it, even within Star Wars lore, you know?
There's enough you could have done that they decided not to do, and it's kind of like, okay, fine, whatever.
Well, actually, you could say the biggest problem was that they didn't fucking have Luke, Leia, and Han actually be together on screen, where they could have done.
Yeah.
Where they were all still alive at that point,
And
where they were all on the fucking set at that point, and they couldn't. And that was, I think, that was a fucking tragedy that wasn't, and unforgivable as far as I'm concerned that they didn't do that when they could have done.
I mean, going back to Harry's point, it's kind of like, yeah, if you had like a series or two of something, let's say Mandalorian season 5, let's say for argument's sake, basically talks about First Order and like Rey being a Jedi apprentice to someone or whatever it is they decide they want to do to try and help fix the sequel trilogy. Yeah, it could work and it could be fine. And you know what, as long as it's done well, it'll be all right, and I'd watch it. It's saying, you know, I want good TV and I want good movies, but the point I'm making is it's just kind of like with the prequel movies, for as bad as they were at points, you didn't need to watch the other stuff around it. Other stuff makes it more palatable. I completely agree. But you didn't need to watch it if you didn't want to. Whereas with this, you're going to have to watch it to make it make sense. And that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, well, I think I don't say maybe I don't necessarily agree that you didn't need to watch it because it was like, oh, here's like, right, we've been clamoring for like something else to do with Star Wars for years since the original trilogy. How about we show you how Darth Vader became Darth Vader? That's interesting, and that's why people wanted to watch it. But I think, like Harry said, I think starting it as far back as when he was a kid and then jumping straight up to when he was like basically a young adult, basically turning into Darth Vader around that time, was where there was just a massive leap from him being a kid to, oh no, he's like in love with Padme, and then they've got married and all this stuff, and there was just
there's also the other big plot hole where it's like Anakin was already too old to be trained.
Exactly,
which makes Luke blatantly way too old to be trained. Like, there's no question Anakin should be trained. By the time it gets to Luke and Yoda comes to him, if we followed that progression of that storyline, Yoda would never have trained Luke.
But then he did say like, oh, he's too old though, didn't he? He did actually say it though, which I suppose is like, okay. But in a desperate kind of way, they were like, well, we need him.
It makes sense when you see it without the prequels. That scene in Empire makes sense because it's like, okay, yeah, he's by some sort of moral standard of the Jedi, you have to be a certain age to train. That makes sense. Yeah. But to have Anakin as young as he is being said he can't be trained.
He's too old as well. Yeah.
It was just like, if you know what I mean, it's one of those ones where it's like, if a kid is too old, an adult is most definitely too old.
Yeah.
Like the leap in how much Yoda just wouldn't have done it. Does that make sense? If it's saying that about that in the prequel going into Empire, he would never have trained. He wouldn't have trained Luke. Simple as.
I think it was more out of desperation at that point. I suppose it was like, look, this is the son of Anakin Skywalker. Okay, he's very much too old for the traditional Jedi Council sort of training, but he is literally our only hope that we have left. So we just got to fucking get on with it and do what we can. Another, yeah. You can fly through space, apparently.
Who suddenly has Jedi. Now, okay, this is what I mean. Even a series that kind of explains why Leia got Jedi training, you know, just stuff to sort of make the fucking some of the most ludicrous bits of Last Jedi.
Yeah. Well, this is the weird thing, because it's kind of like, you know, if they basically just hadn't got rid of the Legends universe, even if you cut the Legends universe off early, because to be fair, like the books from like the last 10 years you can ignore. But if you keep the stuff up until the end of the Empire, basically Leia was training to be a Jedi by that point. Luke Skywalker had a Jedi Academy of about 100 odd people. That basically fits well enough, and the Empire was basically down to a few hundred star systems. Oh wait, it can reorganize into the First Order. Luke Skywalker's got a Jedi temple that can get destroyed by his nephew. You know, you know, you could do. You wouldn't have to do much, and you'd keep a lot more fans on board. But yeah, and it's kind of. The thing about the age thing, at least from the old Legends universe, was the idea was it was to stop attachment. The idea was if you're too old, you're too attached to your way of life, and you can't let go the way you need to. The argument was that Yoda was thinking, okay, this is obviously Legends universe. This doesn't really count anymore, but the argument was that
it always will in your heart, Jack, and that's all that matters.
The argument was that because it's kind of Luke's had like a wholesome upbringing, he doesn't have the same sort of attachments that other people do. Even then, he doesn't actually have any attachments anymore because who's he attached to? His family's gone. He's only got like three friends in the world: Han, Leia, and Chewie.
Yeah, and I suppose at that point, well, he'd always grown up thinking that Darth Vader killed his father.
How could you forget Biggs?
Biggs is dead.
Yeah, but I mean, like he was his friend.
Yeah, but he died. So he's gone by the Yoda.
Dead. That's it.
You know?
Yeah, friends. What about Wedge? What about Antilles? Definitely going to be one of his friends.
Oh yeah, okay, fine. 4 friends, but you don't really see that in the films. That's more legend stuff as well. Legend stuff, boy.
Come on, in A New Hope, he goes, "Wedge, you can't do no good back there. Sorry." You can see the friendship that's building from that moment.
Camaraderie, yeah.
The only part of Rise of Skywalker I genuinely enjoyed was the actor who plays Wedge Antilles is back in the movie using one of the guns of the Millennium Falcon. And it's like in his flight suit. It's like, Gah!
Oh, was he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but also upset about Niam Num being killed. So,
well,
yeah.
But yeah, Mandalorian. Very excited for what they're going to do next because it's kind of like they don't need to do anything else. But if it continues the same quality, I'm more than up for that.
Yeah.
So what? What other series has got on it? So we know the Acolytes is bugger all. We don't know.
We don't really know about that yet.
Well,
Kenobi series. So what? So it's going to be set after Revenge of the Sith.
Right. The original idea for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show basically got canned because it was too similar to Mandalorian. The idea was Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to be looking after like young Luke on Tatooine, like keeping an eye on him and stuff. But obviously that's a bit too similar to Mando looking after baby Yoda.
Yeah.
So canned. And they were starting to retool it. So what it's going to be now, we don't know. But it's basically about...
It's a mini-series though, isn't it? So it's only like or a limited series, as they say, which means it's just like a long film. So it's probably going to be like 6 parts, I think they said.
Like 6 parts, an hour each one. It's like Ewan McGregor's an expensive enough actor that they probably couldn't get him for like a protracted long series or anything, really.
Yeah, I mean it's probably a bit like Picard, where he's like it's named after him, but he's probably not going to be like the main feature. It's probably going to be a load of other characters as well.
It's going to be okay. It's probably going to be something to do with the fact that if they can get what's his name, guy who played Bail Organa.
Oh yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah, I just can't remember his name.
Isn't Bail Organa dead?
Well, he is by the time he dies on Alderaan in A New Hope.
Yeah, so it's.
I'm getting my timeline mixed up.
Yeah, so it's between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
Between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
10 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So effectively, it's going to be something dragging him away from.
He goes away from Tatooine for a little while to do something, then goes back afterwards. That's probably
what he did in the meantime, and
maybe. I mean, here's how I'd pitch the story. Is that someone comes to Kenobi with the idea of ambushing Darth Vader? Thinking about, who's left who's in the rebellion at that point that would come to him?
Well, you'd have Bail Organa.
You say Bail Organa.
You would know he is through Bail Organa.
Yeah.
Effectively, like. The rebellion knows where Vader's going to be,
well.
or they're setting up Vader to be somewhere, and they're going to get Kenobi because he's the only one they know of.
Yeah.
That. Well, and who knows that he bested him? I mean, who knows he was there on Mustafa that would be able to be like, who's the only person who's fought Darth Vader and lived?
Yeah.
At that point,
because he picked him up.
Well, the only thing would be you have to have Palpatine in it as well, wouldn't you?
Not necessarily.
I don't know if Hayden Christensen's going to be Darth Vader, then he is obviously going to be under the wing of Palpatine, especially 10 years later. It's still quite early in his dark side career where he's hunting down Jedi at this point. So
this is it. I mean, again, using the old legends like canon, because until we're told otherwise, this is basically what happened. Is as soon after Order 66 finished, so like a day after Revenge of the Sith movie ended, Palpatine, fuck it, the Jedi can't do shit to me now. I run the entire fucking galaxy. Whoever lived is basically screwed because they'll get eventually. So he didn't really care. So he actually got pissed off with Darth Vader on several occasions because Darth Vader kept trying to go after Jedi. And it's like, look, mate, they aren't out there anymore. And if they are, they're not a threat. And if they do turn up, you'll kill them. It's fine.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need Palpatine unless you want. Well, Ian McDiarmid's still alive. He could still do it if he wanted to.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean,
I'd like it to have a few of those cool scenes that are described in like the Tarkin book.
Yeah.
Of like the councils talking and the political intrigue going on inside the Empire, which is why I quite like Rogue One. I like Rogue One because of director Krennic. And
Krennic,
insight into how the Empire's like hierarchies interplay with each other. I really like that. And if they start playing around with that, I quite like that idea. Yeah. But it got to be something like, I mean, this is my pitch in terms of someone comes to Kenobi and their idea is to ambush Darth Vader and finally kill him off once and for all. Like, you know, a big all, you know, we're going to get rid of him. And obviously it fails and he goes back to Tatooine with his legs between his tail between his legs.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's how I see it playing out. I can't see any other reason why Kenobi would leave Tatooine.
Well, this is it. This is probably where you could bring in what's his name, the kid who played Jerome Valeska in the Gotham thing, the kind who does Cal, whatever.
Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he'd be about the right age for doing that. It's like, because
because he does come across Darth Vader and spoilers, but in the Fallen Order he does come across Darth Vader.
Yeah, and then have him be like, I met.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I suppose technically that's technically canon in itself as well, isn't it? The story of that.
Game's always at the very bottom of the canonicity thing when it came to the old charts and stuff. So whether it's how it all pans out.
Well, because that's obviously the latest one. I'm pretty sure it's like they fit it in, so it could technically. It's
more canon in the old Legends universe. We'll put it like that.
Well, it definitely has a lot of. The Inquisition is something that's in the universe.
Yeah,
that's what's after them most of the game is the Inquisition led by Darth Vader.
Yeah,
so it would make sense.
That's it. It's like, it's anything that's come out since Disney took over basically is more canon than the old Legends stuff. So it's kind of how that all works is a bit weird. But
Favreau and Filoni go, right, we're bringing all the books back in.
or we're going to introduce Starkiller.
That would be amazing.
Sam Witwer said he's happy to do it, so you know what, get him in.
Well, I've heard rumours of a Force Unleashed 3.
Oh, especially on next gen as well. Crikey, that would be amazing.
That too had such an annoying ending that it needs a sequel.
Yeah.
To fix that problem, but whether he is still established, I still think it fits within the universe quite happily.
Yeah. It's like Force Unleashed 1 fits perfectly. More than happy with that. Force Unleashed 2, I'm a bit like, I'm a bit more tentatively weirded about that because it's kind of like, I don't know. It just didn't feel right that as a game. The story for it just didn't feel. It felt like it was missing something.
Yeah, it felt like a beginning.
Yeah, it felt like
everything's intro in that game, and then by the time the storyline got interesting, it ends. That's the problem I have with it. Is that they captured Darth Vader, and that's the end of the game. And I'm like, you can't end the game.
No,
we've captured the
we have to know how he got out of that fucking situation.
Oh. See, I played it through to do the dark side ending because I thought that was the correct way to finish the game. It's like, no. It's just the rebels.
Well, actually, it's more correct than the actual ending. Thinking about it, he just kills him.
Yeah.
And you get the question mark whether he was a clone all along.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoiler in a different thing. This is years old, which is probably not canon.
Talking about something that has only just come out, and that's been out for fucking years. So yeah, I'm sure people would understand.
Oh yeah, we did talk about Luke being in Mandalorian.
Yeah, and like everyone else has been talking about it.
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Boba Fett painting his armor?
I did actually think about that. I was just like, hang on, how did he get like his armor looking so good so quickly? Like,
I'm pretty sure the other guy, Cobb Vanth or whatever his name was, had painted it when he got it. So it's kind of like, yeah, he painted it and refreshed it. And what was taking it, he's going to get it all dinged up and messy because he ain't going to give a shit about it other than the fact that he's wearing it. So, yeah.
Well, it's almost like the dinks and the scratches are like a sign of pride.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he'd keep it.
But the thing is when you went into the Sarlacc pit and someone else had the armor, they don't have the same relevance anymore. So he's painted it. That's how I see it.
Almost like he's regenerated
to make it look fresh. That's all. Sorry, I just lost track of my brain there for a second.
Well, maybe we should end the video there.
Perhaps so. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I'm thinking maybe we should be this can be like, unless we want to do another one before the end of the year. This could be like the Christmas special, where we've managed to not talk about Doctor Who for quite a long. This is the Star Wars scene.
Well, and ramblings about.
Oh, yeah, it did manage to creep in. Just
slightly, slightly, just to keep the regulars happy.
Oh, I heard Matt Smith's playing someone.
Yeah, he's playing a Targaryen.
Yeah. Yes, you guys told me. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
that's going to be amazing.
Fire and Blood. Which
do you know what? Like you said, I wasn't even interested, and now you've said it, I'm like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can tell he can play. I mean, there was sort of okay. It was a bit of it was a shit episode, but Nightmare on Silver, where he's like he becomes like, sort of like the cyber thing, and he's showing kind of a villainous side there, and it's like I could kind of.
I actually quite like that episode. I know the kids are irritating in it.
Yeah.
It's the kids that ruin the episode.
The
idea of the Siberiad and it trying to take over his mind to be able to make the Cybermen more powerful is a more interesting idea than what they've done with the Cybermen a lot of the time in the new series.
Well, pretty much every time, yeah.
I mean, it's my little bit of retconning is that Baby, the Doctor, Peter Capaldi, is in the Siberiad, and they're using,
Yeah, but then that would mean then that Peter Capaldi would have been part of the fucking Timeless Abomination, and then would end up
part of the Timeless Abomination because that's all a simulation in the Siberiad.
Yeah,
but then he would have been. But then he ended up getting shrunk by the Master anyway. So the Master would have ended up killing him regardless. So I suppose that would have been the ultimate victory of the Master to kill off the Doctor once and for all. But just unfortunately not the Whittaker version.
What'll happen is you'll have Matt Smith wake up and he'll be like, "Oh shit!" It's just the Cyberman bits will fall off. It'll be continuing from Nightmare in Silver, and he'll be like, "Oh shit, that was a weird."
He was handled. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. That's why I got so attached to him, because he was attached to himself, because it was him. That's the only way that would have worked.
One of his many skulls from the fashion dial.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, cool. Well, that was an interesting and thorough discussion about Star Wars, Mandalorian. I hope you guys enjoyed it all. I certainly did.
I loved it. It's great.
But yeah, if you want to do, I'm up for doing another one before the end of the year. But this could be like our Christmas special, and then we could do like another one afterwards, whatever.
Christmas special. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'll stop. Are we stopping the call now, or just stopping recording?
Well, you can stop the call, and then we can. Stop the recording.
Stop the recording.
And then start the recording again on a different.
If we talk about Doctor Who again.
And then we can just talk about anything.
Anything, yeah. All right, well, share, subscribe, and look after yourselves in this mad motherfucking year.
Woo! Tier 4.
Brilliant.
Oh, lockdown.
Bye.